This is Armored Core 6. It's a really cool mecha game that I haven't played yet that everyone else is playing. But since I can't afford it, I decided to look for something else, an alternative. Today we'll be looking at Armored Core 6 at home, or the anime version. Oh, I like to call it Daemon X Machina. That's right, this game was released in 2019 and it was actually published by Nintendo and it was developed by Marvelous Inc. It's kind of Armored Core Light, since considering its producer actually made the original Armored Core series. But is this game worth your time? Is it totally forgettable? It was kind of a big deal when it came out, since Nintendo was actually publishing this and making it exclusive for the Switch. Granted, now there is a PC version of the game, but anyway, because Nintendo don't really do that. So, is Daemon X Machina worth your time and a great alternative to Armored Core 6? Or is it literally a mecha failure? Can't believe I just said that. Well, let's find out. But of course, before we go any further, welcome to Stay Tuned on Gaming. I'm your host Damien, where I get to talk about video games for as long as I want. Today, we'll be looking at the anime-inspired Daemon X Machina. And of course, if you like this video, comment down below, share it, tell me how you enjoy Daemon X Machina, and do all the normal YouTube stuff. Alright, let's get into the game. The story of Daemon X Machina is set in the near dystopian future where the moon has collided with Earth, releasing mysterious energy that has turned AIs against humanity, called the Immortals. Humanity has retreated to the Oval Territory and created a new type of weapon, the Arsenal. Arsenals are highly maneuverable and customized battle mechs that are piloted by specially trained soldiers known as Outers. They are humanity's last line of defense against the Immortals and fight bravely to protect the remaining human settlements. The player will take control of a newly recruited Outer, who is recruited by Orbital Fleet, a military organization dedicated to fighting the Immortals. As he quickly learns that the conflict between humanity and AI is more complex, and the many diverse cast of characters, each with their own motivations and backstories, as well as the different factions each at play to fight against humanity or fight against AI, each looking to either seek or coexist with one another. Now, this all sounds really awesome, right? This great fight between machine and man, the femto stuff, outers, mechs, different factions fighting each other. It all sounds really awesome. There's just one problem. Daemon X Machina does a terrible job of explaining any of this. Seriously, you're gonna be confused from the very first hour into this game, and you're gonna be confused after the 15th hour of this game. This story is so confusing, so terribly done, so obtuse in just trying to tell me a very simple thing that I understood nothing. I was confused from the beginning and I was confused at the end. They give you this big lore dump into the game right at the start and you're like, wait, what? And then you get just thrown more words and stuff at you as the game goes on, before they lore dump you at the end again. It's just so much stuff. If there was any game that needed a big book that just told me all of the different locations and all the different names, maybe this game needed it, because damn, I was confused through all of it. After 5 hours, I was like, I still have no idea what's going on. And it's because they throw you in the deep end and they never teach you how to swim. And even if you try swimming for yourself, you'll get confused many times. Well, the other thing that I have to say is, while this writing is god-awful and the way they present the story, which is mostly during text, is very bad, the huge cast of characters doesn't help it whatsoever. Seriously, there was this whole idea that all of these mercenaries are with different factions within the area, all trying to protect the overall group. And each character and each faction have their own agendas, their own people, and they all have their own goals. The problem is, the story is just not does a good job at just trying to explain to me what is going on, who is with who. Like, it's so difficult to figure out. And when you do get introduced to new characters, you're not introduced to just one new character. You introduce like 3 or 4 new characters who don't show up until 2 or 3 missions down the line again. And you're like, who the hell are you again? It does not help. And they mostly just talk through text boxes. You're given short little conversations in the beginning, and then you're given conversations actually during the mission. And that's some important stuff they actually tell you, and then you're not even paying attention because you're playing the mission. The cast of characters are cool and they're different, but they're not memorable. And because the story is so confusing, the cast of characters so confusing, there were many times when they tried to do like sentimental moments, sad moments, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. If anyone have had that fight scene where you fight like all of these brothers and sisters that can, the Ouroboros people or kids as they call themselves, you will understand what I'm saying. I had no idea what was going on. It was supposed to be a sad and emotional moment. There's even like a twist where someone turns evil, and I was like, wait a minute, what the hell is that? How did this happen? And throughout the game, that's what you feel like. And I don't know why. They couldn't just give me a proper story of mechs fighting AI. That's all I wanted. Instead, they gave me this rogue faction. Again, the underlining stuff of it is good, and I would say that I would really like to delve into it. The problem is that the game doesn't do a good story at all. And everything I told you there is probably told to you within the first 10 minutes. And then you forget about it, because this game doesn't give a damn about you remembering anything. And then they throw a big lore dump at the end again. So yeah, the story isn't really that good, and you'll be confused from the start to the end, as I was. And that's not a good thing. This doesn't help that there's the AI that's also there to be joking and telling you stuff, and that none of the dialogue is interesting, and that none of the characters are memorable. They all are different and unique with really cool designs, but they're totally forgettable. And the story is just as forgettable. Like, if they make a sequel for this game, which I know they're in development, I don't know how they would do this, because the game even has 2 endings. The game decides, hey, we made this really cool story, we're gonna give you 2 endings. Like, any ending makes sense, except there's going to be another game. I couldn't believe when I saw there was 2 endings to this game, which is sad, because I do think that the voice acting is pretty good in this game. If you haven't played any Bandai Namco games, you'll probably recognize a lot of people from them, because they do mostly these voice actors. I think the music is good too. As for graphics, the game actually has some really cool graphics. 2D cel-shaded graphics, which I think really work, really brings out the anime aesthetic. It's heavily inspired by anime, heavily inspired by heavy metal as well. Your own character you can make, it's a completely OG character, and I actually really do like the character designs in here. Again, you can make him the most over-the-top anime character you want, and it's actually really awesome. The mech designs are also really, really cool. Every piece of armor gives your mech a different look, and I love that about it. It's so awesome. They can look big and bulky, or they can look sleek and slim, and I really, really like that. Weapons also look really, really good, and the style does help it when you go out into the missions and do them. While most of it is covered in sand, I did like the different, areas you fought in, and when they finally did give you, underground areas and more city areas, it was a good different design between them. But it doesn't really help when you're only spending 5 or 10 minutes in these areas and then you leave again, and then they become pretty forgettable. The characters, other mechs, they just don't also stand out as much. Your mech stands out because you can customize it to whatever you want. You can customize, you can put in decals, you can paint it completely, patterns can be unlocked. There's so many different things you can do to make your mech stand out, and I think that's an A+. But the other characters' mechs, really, I really couldn't tell the difference between them. Overall, story for Daemon X Machina is not even a B. It's a confusing C in my opinion. Graphics-wise, it's good, voice acting is good, and the music's pretty okay. I like the main theme, even though it gets spammed to you 100 times. But there were some tracks where I thought there was actually some really good stuff into it. But overall, Daemon X Machina's story is not one where it's going to win anything, and it's probably going to be very, very forgettable. So, if the story isn't good, how about the gameplay? Well, to me, it's a mixed bag. It's average at best and sometimes annoying at worst. It's a fast-paced third-person mech game with combat taking both in the air and on the ground, and it's okay, but it never really reaches the heights that I think the game wants to be. There are points when I look at it and I say, Daemon X Machina could have been a really, really awesome game, but it's let down by a lot of stuff. So, there's a lot to go into, so let me just first break it down. I want to first talk about how I don't like the game's mission structure. I think it's terrible. You start a mission, have a small cutscene, and you play into it. Missions aren't long, they last 5 to 10 minutes, and you're mostly fighting AI, and they're not good. They're pretty just fodder. They're just trash. You're just gonna shoot them, and kill them. Hardly gonna cause you any trouble whatsoever. And the same goes for the enemy arsenals that you'll face later down the line. They're not that difficult whatsoever. It really isn't until the end where sometimes the missions become some difficulty, but they just become bullet sponges. I will admit though, the boss fights are really, really awesome. Now that I got that out of the way because I just hated this mission structure and I didn't care for it, let's actually get into the real gameplay. Let's start off with the HUD. There is a lot going on with the HUD, but you can customize the HUD to take out a lot of the nonsense in this game, and to be fair, you won't really use most of it. Mostly you have to look at your health, your boost, which you'll be using like 98% of the time, and your femto, which is this ultimate attack thing where you can basically make a clone of your mech, and he basically has the same mannerisms as you in taking down enemies. It's really awesome. Now, you can find yourself some health pods on the map as well, and shooting those can allow you to stand in the health and get some health back. You can also find femto areas that allow you regenerate much faster your femto. If you run out of boost, you're basically left for dead. And all of this plays into the combat. Shooting is fine as well. I never had a problem. It's a good lock-on feature. Ground combat is really good, and air combat is okay. It's not the best. But sometimes I did find air combat pretty annoying. All of this does present itself as this very fast mech game. But the problem is, it's never so fast. Sometimes the game feels slow and clunky, maybe because it's on the Switch. Sometimes the game just doesn't have that impact with weapons. And you can really feel it when you're shooting with assault rifles and shooting with normal guns, where it just doesn't really have that impact. And like I said, it's just not that fast. Yes, you have the boost that makes you go much faster. And like I said, you're using it 90% of the time, but you never really feel the rush of adrenaline that the game's trying to be, or what it even sold itself on. Like I said, I had some issues with the air combat. Getting into the air is fine. Getting, actually going, descending is the big issue in my opinion. First off, you can, boost down to go fast, or you, push L3 down and you, lower really, really slowly. It just becomes very annoying. Why wasn't there, a boost straight down button? Just to go down very fast. You go down really, really slow for some reason, which is pretty annoying because you trying to fly around and fly in the air and fly on the ground, it just doesn't really work. If you're in the air, you're probably going to stay in the air for 90% of the time and only go on the ground when you're looking for stuff. Now, like I said, that's a bit of a mixed bag in my opinion. The enemy is terrible. They're boring. Normal enemies you fight all the over. The enemy arsenals aren't so great. There is some uniqueness when you start to fight the other big mechs, other mercenary mechs. They're cool and they do present some challenge, but it does feel like they're playing a completely different game than you are, flying around, teleporting, using different stuff, and you're looking like, oh, I can't do any of that, and the mech I have just never works. Now, where that game does fall short, it does do really well in the armor and the weapons department, the equipment of your mech. I think this is the really good part about this game. The armor looks cool, they all have different stats, you can make your mech look big and bulky or sleek and slim, each different disabilities, you have different abilities with them, give you different durability, flight, all those type of stuff, and I think that's really cool. Weapons are really awesome as well, and you can customize your mech to look big and bulky with a lot of weapons, and you can bring up to 6 weapons on your mech, 4 just normal assault rifles and guns and all that stuff. And then you have a shoulder weapon and an auxiliary support weapon as well. For the weapons, there's a good variety of them. Actually, a really well done variety. You got your normal bullet weapons like assault rifles, SMGs, pistols, bazookas. And then you get laser weapons. You get melee weapons like swords, special weapons like flamethrowers and acid guns, and even defensive weapons like shields. And you can add 4 of this on yourself and switch out whenever you want during the combat. I think this is awesome. I love this attention. I love that you could just make your mech full of just melee weapons if you have them, or throw one side with a shield and the melee side, and then the other side's mostly just gonna be your big heavy hitters. It's really awesome, and you can make some really broken build. Your shoulder weapons are mostly going to be either grenades, mines, or missiles. I usually go for the missiles, and then your support stuff can be a variety of things, helping you in stamina, in ammo, femto. There's a variety of stuff, and it's really cool to just see and mix and match how you go. Then you can also use your old equipment and these old weapons that you have to make better armor and better equipment. Some equipment as well has attachments to them, and this helps you give different stat abilities to them, more ammo, more health, or even better damage. That's how it is, and that's all cool as well. You also have the ability to get out of your mech whenever you want. And you even have abilities that the autopilot has, which is also really cool. You can do grenades, shoot mechs, fly around if you level them up high enough, and they even have their own level tree, something your mech doesn't really have. But Again, a great idea, but terrible execution. You never ever want to be out of your mech, and once you do, you're basically dead. You're not going to be able to do anything. There is like one mission, I think, or two missions, where where you're not in your mech whatsoever, and I thought that was actually a good change of pace, since most of the missions in this game are the goddamn same and are really goddamn boring. So then you also have ice cream, and ice cream is basically like every RPG food thing you ever have. You eat it before the match, and you get like a stat boost here and there. Problem is with this, it's terribly executed. When you choose your flavors, it's like, I don't know what the abilities are gonna be or what it's buffing or anything like that. So you don't know until you choose the final flavor, and only then do you find out what it is. I hardly used ice cream because it was so poorly implemented, and that the stat boost was so little, like 3%, 5%. It's like it hardly did any difference that I never wanted to go back and use it. I just never did it. And that's basically the game in a nutshell. You go into choose a mission, shoot the easy AIs, then you're going to come back, see what weapon and equipment you got, and that's it. Now, how do you get this weapon and equipment? Well, like I said, at points you actually fight enemy arsenals and other mercenaries as well, and once you down them, you actually have to go to their body and access them. Here, you'll get a variety of armor or weapons. It's totally random. I don't know why they made it random. It just makes the game so much more difficult and so much more annoying to play. Like, these small annoyances keep popping up. It's totally random. And the thing is, not every mission has enemy mechs, so you're out of luck in some of them. And when you do down them, you don't really get what you want. And again, you don't know what you're gonna get, which even makes it worse. The game has this idea where when you do shoot enemies, so like when you kill AIs, they drop like health or femto mostly, but when you run out of ammo, there's no way to get ammo again. So they want you to actually throw away your weapon, which you can do, and then go to these enemy mechs, click on them, and then get like a new weapon. You finally see what weapon they have, pick it up, and then you can use it. Now, sounds cool, but again, poorly implemented because the equipment that they have can be totally random. So why even have us this ability whatsoever? You can pick up cars and other stuff as well, but again, I'm not gonna really go out of my way to pick up cars or anything like that. And that's really it. You're gonna be dodging, shooting, killing mechs, killing stuff like that, and it's boring very, very quickly. Within the first 5 hours, you've probably seen everything about the game, and it's not gonna change from there. The gameplay at points tries so hard to get to the level that they tell you, a fast-paced mech game, but it never reaches it. There are points where it does get really, really good. I would say the boss battles, but it never manages to maintain its welcome because the missions are also pretty short, 5 to 20 minutes at max. The boss battles do take a bit longer, but that's only how it is. And because this game has no difficulty, with the difficulty being matched to what equipment you're wearing, it doesn't make it any better. You also have like partners on almost every story mission. The free missions, which is like side missions, you can choose not to have partners, but even then it doesn't matter. You just feel so overpowered that the game is boring. Except for like the last missions, they just make the enemy bullet sponges, so it becomes annoying to play because you start to run out of ammo. And they are the only ones you're facing. And it became very, very annoying very, very quickly. And you can't really develop some of the better weapons because you can't find the older weapons, because sometimes the enemy drops are random, forcing you to play missions over and over and over again. Now, this gameplay loop sounds familiar. It's because it kind of is, to me personally. It plays like Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter, you go in, you choose a monster, eat some food, and you go and you fight the monster, right? And then you carve it up and try to see what you can get to make either the weapon or the armor. And you'll do this over and over again. The thing is, Monster Hunter's gameplay is fun. Daemon X Machina's gameplay gets boring very, very quickly that I don't want to play it again. Now, you can play this game online with friends. Co-op is there. You can play at any missions you want with friends and go online. But I don't think that helps the issue whatsoever. There's even a PvP mode, but I never used it whatsoever. Some of the cooler missions are the online missions. You have the ability to create a room, and then if you don't want to play with anybody, you can actually have AI partners join you. And they have the cooler missions that they have where you can fight bosses on a harder difficulty, newer bosses, as well as fight other enemy mechs as well, and enemy mercenaries that you don't get to fight in the story. And they actually give you some of the better equipment that's out there. This was really awesome, and I really liked that. They even have a mode where you can play like a evolving door of a base, and it keeps changing every time you go in, which was also really, really awesome. But it's all thrown onto the online mode of the game. Granted, you can play this by yourself with no one, because it's not that difficult. But I don't know why it's there in the online version and just not in the game itself for single player. It just hides a lot of the awesome stuff much later. Because granted, this was added in post-launch content. And that's how this game feels. It feels like it just never felt like it was finished. It feels like it was on a cusp of getting somewhere good, but the gameplay just never manages to do it. Shooting is terribly just not impactful. It's just bam, 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 not really impactful except for like one or two missions one or two weapons that I get. Like, there's like only, I think the railgun that I got, I was like, whoa, this is really powerful, but I hardly ever used it because it sucked to use. Great variety in weapons, a great variety in armor, and just everything else is substandard to poor, and that's the problem. The repetitiveness hits very quickly, and the game never manages to break that lull. There was maybe a point where I think I actually got into the gameplay loop, but maybe because the game beat me into submission of how boring it was. By the end of it, I was rushing to finish this game, and I was dreading finishing it because it was taking me forever to get through the painful experience of going over and shooting AI over and over. I didn't enjoy it around the end, except for like 2 or 5 hours after I finished the game, I jumped back in just to see if my feelings still stand. And I was kind of in a lull when I played it, but yeah, the game's gameplay is average at best. Like I said, there are some good parts of this gameplay, and there are some good moments, but it just doesn't manage to stay its welcome. Lastly, what I do want to talk about is the menu structure of this game, because I hated it. I started to get so annoyed by it, and this may be a slight annoyance, but it started to become much more of a bigger annoyance as I was playing the game. Now, in the game, there are 3 menus that deal with your mech and your equipment. Your hangar, where you'll basically be swapping out equipment, saving loadouts, and testing out your mech. Then you have shop, which is buying and selling equipment, and then factory, where they will be developing new weapons and armor, and then adding attachments. All of this sounds very good. The problem is, they don't work really well together. They're like completely separate. If you want to sell weapons and equipment, well, you can only do it in the store menu, meaning you have to go completely out of the hangar and into the store menu and try to figure out what you want to sell. If you want to go and make new equipment, well, you can only do it in the hangar. You can't do it anywhere else. You want to detach attachments? Well, you can only do it in the factory. You can't do it anywhere else. This forces you in and out of menus constantly, switching between the two. I didn't understand why it all just isn't in one menu. Yeah, you can keep the store separate, but why is developmental stuff and the hangar completely separate? And it kept taking on. It just felt like extending the running time of this game, which I didn't want. I would play the mission, finish it, because you only get money as reward for this mission, go into the hangar, check what I got, then go out, then go into the development area, the factory, try to see what I want to make, but then I forget what is equipped to my mech, because this game doesn't really tell you what's equipped to your mech, you just have to figure it out, go back out, see what's equipped to my mech, see what I want to do, but I don't really know what this weapon is going to do, so I attach it or not, then go back into the developmental factory, figure out what I want to make there, then I make it, and then I have to go there and make attachments. Now I'm scrolling through a large list of attachments because 2 of the menus do the exact same thing, either detaching or adding attachments, which made no sense. And it just became a tedious process. And that's what this game kind of is. A tedious process, but with small golden nuggets in there that do make it good. I will admit, you're probably not going to play this game for more than 5 hours a day, because trying to sit, and even that's a bit too much, because trying to sit for like 20 hours straight playing this game will tear your hair out, because it's so annoying to play. It's just average, and you're gonna get bored very quickly. So, what did I think of Daemon X Machina? Well, the game is passable. Look, if you're on a lazy Sunday afternoon and you see this game lying in your library, you'll probably have a good 5 hours playing this game. Anything more than that, it will probably get very annoying. It's not inherently a terrible game. I did have fun moments with it. I did love the art style. I loved a little bit of the gameplay. The story is a complete mess, but there were things I did enjoy. If they are able, because they have announced the sequel for this game, they just fix up some of the gameplay elements, story elements, and maybe just make it a bit more fun and intuitive to use, then there might actually be something here. I will admit, I am interested to see what they do with the sequel and if they actually fix a lot of the problems I had with this game. But overall, Daemon X Machina is just what it is. A totally passable experience. One you'll pass every single time you see it on the store because it just doesn't look that interesting. And the game itself doesn't hold your interest for very long. Daemon X Machina is one heck of a mecha failure. I'll see you in the next game. And that's the video, guys. So know if you liked it, comment down below, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff, share the video. Yeah, so that was Daemon X Machina. I had a tough time playing this game. I remember seeing it for the first time and being like, oh my god, this game looks so cool. I even bought the collector's edition for it. And now playing it, because I didn't play when I got it, it just isn't a game where I'm like, you gotta play this, man. You gotta play this with me. It's so good. And yeah, I mean, you can see the gameplay and it looks awesome, but it just doesn't play that awesome. I just felt very bored and the gameplay is just so repetitive with the missions. I just got so bored by those missions very, very quickly. And that kind of plagues the whole game. You know, I've been like sitting on this review for a very long time. It's been a while since I did a video. I had a lot of family stuff happening. But coming back to this game, I just didn't feel like I was playing it while I had family over and I was like, God, I want to go in and hang out with my family instead of playing this game, which is not what I want to do. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next game. All the normal YouTube stuff. I don't know what's going to be next, but should be much quicker than this video took to make. All right, see you next time.